Sounds good. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you make your way into a comfortable position on the floor, of course, whether that's knees bent or legs extended, let it be a place where you feel like you can allow your body to soften into that support. And as you bring your attention to your breath, as you watch it as it flows in and out of your body, see if you can let each exhale be an invitation to sink and settle into the mat. And each inhale to bring a little bit of lightness and space through the inner fabric of the body. So that both by grounding down and rising up, you're creating a sense that the inner spaces of the body are buoyant, supported, able to move dynamically, even if it's just in the way the breath travels in and travels out. And then once you feel like you've brought your attention to your breath, once that experience of breathing has gotten a little more a part of your focus, then give yourself a few cycles of breath where you focus in the front plane of the body and warming up through the center by exploring with our attention and with our breathing how those spaces move. And as you take a couple of breaths, see if you can let each inhale lengthen, broaden, and expand that front body line. And let go from any places that might have helped out as you let your breath blow out. And as you're ready, shift your attention into the back body. Again, give yourself a few cycles of breath where on your inhale, you move the expansion, the shape change of your breath in the back plane of the body, letting the back lengthen and broaden towards the mat as you breathe in, and letting go as you breathe out. And observing from the inside how your mind organizes the body so that you can feel this movement in your back. And then as you're ready, shift your attention over into one side. And again, inviting that side of the body to be moved by the breath. Give yourself a few cycles here. Again, as you invite that movement to be felt and experienced in that side, notice how your mind organizes the body. What closes a little bit to support expansion in a different place? And then as you're ready, shift your attention over into the final side. Again, invite it to be moved by your breath. Can that side lengthen, broaden, expand as you breathe in? And as you let your breath flow out, you let everything soften back into the support of the floor. And then letting your breath find whatever rhythm and movement feels right in this moment. As you breathe in, lengthening through the front body, let your pelvis rock towards your toes. As you find your way into your arch, pause here and see if you can expand each spot in that front body line from your upper chest all the way down towards your low belly and inner thighs, gently up towards the sky, getting a little bit of movement from many, many places in the back, like rays radiating up and out towards the sky. And then let go from all of those places, letting all of that contraction soften and melt from the back body as you come all the way down to rest. With your next exhale, rolling your pelvis towards you. Again, let the sitting bones curl up, let the low back move down, and then see if you can, again, expand through the back body line by moving each space in the back body further back behind you. Can you feel the upper back move? Can you feel the low back, the middle back round? Taking as many breaths here as you need to find a place where your mind is clear on how to make that happen so that you can let go from all of those places, coming out little by little by little, all the way back to zero effort. So we'll take those shapes for a couple more cycles. Again, as you breathe in, as the front body lengthens, roll your pelvis towards your toes, find your arch, and then see if you can move each space in that front body line up towards the sky. Noticing the response in the back body as you fill the front body up. And then release as slowly as you can from all of those places that contracted to come back down. Reversing that shape and moving with your exhale as you let the low back sink down, as you roll your pelvis towards you, find that rounded shape. And then see if you can move each space in that back body line further back behind you. We're not trying to force, but we are trying to see if the mind can be conscious of every little spot in the front body as it comes into a gentle contraction. And then slowly let that go, letting the front body get long, broad, and soft again. Give yourself one more cycle. Again, feeling your way into your arch, low back rises up, sitting bones root down, and then refining, taking as many breaths as you need to really expand every place in the front body line up towards the sky so that you can feel the back as it contracts. And then in turn, keep that awareness of the back body and that connection to the sensation in the back as you slowly release that contraction, coming down as slowly and as smoothly as you can, all the way to rest into the support of the floor. One more time, rounding the back again with your exhale. Roll your pelvis towards the top of your head until the low back moves down, sitting bones move up. Let that connect to the ribs, feeling them pull in and down, noticing your chin reach towards the sky, and moving each space in the back body line back behind you. Let your mind be really conscious of the work it's doing and how it affects the back. And then stay connected to that feeling of contraction as you slowly let it go. Again, coming down as slowly and smoothly as you can until you get all the way to zero effort. And as you get there, pause and rest. And then bringing the focus into the side body, make your way over onto your left side. Well, the right side is up, left side is down. We'll set ourselves up with our knees in line with our hips, so 90-degree angles at the hips, and the toes just peeking out beyond the knees, so a 90-degree angle at the knee as well. Let your head be and shoulders be comfortable supporting your head with your arm or with a blanket or a block. And let your top arm reach down past your hip. And we'll be moving that right hip and right shoulder towards one another. As you feel ready, start to draw the right ribs down towards your waist. Let that move your shoulder towards your hip. And start to draw your hip up towards your shoulder until you feel your foot and your shin start to rise up. Pause here and see if you can gently press each space in that bottom left side down towards the mat so that you're expanding that left side by contracting on the top right side. And then really slowly let that go. Letting that right side get long and soft again as you let the shoulder and the hip soften apart. So we'll try that twice more. Again, as you're ready, let the ribs and shoulders move down. Let the hip move up through contraction in the waist, the side of the body, and then refine. See if you can breathe into that bottom left side. See if you can move each spot in that left side a little bit more towards the mat, feeling how that arcs the spine and shortens the right. And then slowly lower yourself back down by releasing that contraction, little by little by little by little, coming all the way back to rest. So we'll do that one more time. Again, as you're ready, draw the hip up, the ribs and shoulder down. Feel the side body engage. And then breathing into that left side, see if you can move each point in that left side body further towards the mat, further away from the right side, feeling how that rounds you towards the side. And then really slowly, making sure you release from the ribs, from the waist, from the top of the hip, even all the way up underneath your armpit and shoulder as you come all the way back to rest. Take a moment just to pause here for a breath or two. And we're going to add on connection into the outer hip. So now let your knees shift a little further away from your belly so that you're open a little bit more than 90 degrees. And draw your heels a little closer towards your hips so that your knees are a little more closed than 90 degrees. You can change these positions as you need to. Our goal is connecting across the outer hip. So we're going to keep the hips and the shoulders stacked as best we can. And we're going to slowly lift that right knee up. As it lifts up, think about lifting with the muscles of the outer hip. Let the leg just be a weight that's being moved by the muscles of the hip. And then slowly lower the leg back down, releasing that contraction from the outer hip to bring the leg back down to rest. And we'll try that action once more before we add on one more piece. Again, working from the outer hip, contract at the outer hip to lift the knee. See if you can keep the hips stacked. And then release that contraction to lower the weight of the knee back down. Nice. So we'll add on one more piece, and what we'll add is a little arch in the low back, and that's going to help us feel the connection from the outer hip into the low back. So when you're ready, let your belly move forward and your back arch. So your sitting bones are going to go back behind you a little bit. So there's some contraction in the low back. And now start to lift the right knee up. And notice how now you can feel a little more deeply into that contraction across the outer hip. Let it become conscious, holding against gravity here, really using the muscles of the hip and the low back. And then slowly let go. And as you let go, let the back lengthen as you let the weight of the leg come back down, coming all the way back to rest. Noticing how the leg, as it comes back to neutral, is rotating a little more towards the inside. And now as we lift it up, it's turning towards the outside. So we'll try that action twice more on this side. First, make a little arch. Belly moves forward, sitting bones move back. Then start to lift the right knee. Feel into that contraction in a way that's comfortable so that you can feel engagement but aren't doing too much. And then as you let go, let the back at the outer hip soften, lowering the weight of the leg back down. We'll do that one more time. First, arch your back. This is tipping the pelvis. Belly moves forward, back muscles contract. Then engage a little more in the outer hip to lift the leg. You're externally rotating the leg here as you create this shape to lift the knee. And then from those places that have contracted, slowly let that effort go. Back gets long, outer hip releases and softens, knee comes back down to rest as you come all the way out of that effort. As you get there, take a moment to rest. And when you're ready, come on to your back and take a moment just to notice how things feel now on the right after having spent a little time focused on both contracting and releasing in that area, pendiculating that space. And then as you feel ready, switch sides. So make your way over onto the right. Left side is going to be up, right side will be down. And again, at first we'll set ourselves up with the knees in line with the hips and the toes just peeking out past the knees. So we've got those two 90-degree angles. Again, make sure your neck and shoulders are comfortable and let that top left arm extend along your side so that your hand is just draping past your head. And again, we'll focus on moving the ribs and shoulders downwards and the hip upwards to lift the foot and shin to curve the spine, this time into a C towards the left. So as you're ready, start to draw the ribs and shoulder down, the hip up. And again, as you feel that left side come into contraction, breathe into the right side. And see if you can move each spot in that side body line a little further towards the floor, noticing how that comes from contracting in the left. Then really slowly let that contraction go. And as you let go, let that lower the foot and shin, your head and shoulders, and let the hip and the shoulders soften apart. So we'll take 2 more cycles like that. Ribs and shoulders draw down, hip draws up, closing on the left. Again, pausing here, breathing into the right, letting that right side lengthen and expand towards the mat. Noticing how that relates to contraction on the left side. And then staying really conscious, letting that contraction be like a spotlight for your awareness. Keeping your attention in those muscles that have contracted as you slowly let that contraction go, so that you're releasing effort to come back down towards the floor. One more time here. As you're ready, ribs and shoulders draw down, hip draws up. Letting that lift the foot and the shin. Maybe it lifts your head. Make sure you're comfortable as you create the shape. See if you can get a little bit of movement from all of the spaces of the left side, a little bit of expansion towards the floor from all the places in the right side. And then slowly let go. Let that right side stay soft. We're not trying to pull ourselves back out. We're trying to let go of the contraction that brought us into that shape. Again, as you get all the way to 0 effort, pause to rest. And then when you're ready, shift your knees a little further away from your belly. So you're opening that angle greater than 90 degrees. And draw your heels a little closer towards your hips. So you're closing the angle at the knees. Again, make sure you're stacked. Left hip on top of right, left shoulder on top of right. And we'll start with lifting the knee, opening that clamshell, finding the muscles of the outer hip. So as you're ready, thinking of the leg as a weight, really focusing on contracting through the outer hip. Start to slowly lift that left knee up. See if you can feel the muscles in the outer hip contract. And then slowly lower the weight of the leg back down, feeling how that's a release of contraction through that left hip. Let's try one more cycle before we add in arching in the back. Again, slowly lift the knee. Try to keep the hips stacked here so that you're not lifting the knee by rocking, but are lifting the knee by engaging through the outer hip. You should feel a firmness come into the muscles of the outer hip. And then slowly soften that firmness. Feel how as you let the knee come back down, there's actually a rising up through the inner thighs and a broadening through the hip bones right up at the socket. So we'll take that action a couple more times and we'll add in arching in the back. So the belly's going to move forward, sitting bones are going to move back as you tip your pelvis. And then add to that, lifting that left knee up. Again, we're aiming to feel contraction from the low back around the outer hip. Pause for a moment, see if you can feel that consciously. And then really slowly let that go. And let that allow the back to lengthen and the left knee to come all the way down to rest. So we'll do that twice more. First, find the arch, then engage with the left hip, lifting the weight of the leg. Should feel contraction through the hip and the back. And then as you let go, see if you can allow the back to get long, the hip to broaden and soften, even the thigh bone to feel like it rises up towards the sky as you let go of that contraction from the outer hip into the low back. So let's take that action one more time. Again, first find a little arch. Make sure you're moving at the pelvis. And lift that left knee up. Again, we want to be conscious of where the contraction is happening. Let the leg be soft. Let the work happen at the hip. And then slowly ease off of that effort. Letting the knee come all the way back down to rest. And again, as you get there, give yourself a moment just to rest and to breathe. then make your way onto your back. And again, feel into the left side here as it comes to rest on the mat. Noticing how it is in relationship to the right, how it might feel in comparison to how it felt a couple of moments ago. And then I want to take one more somatics pattern for the hips, which is a newish pattern, I think, for all of us. So we're going to make our way into a tabletop position. So as you find your table, make sure you don't have too much weight in your hands. We're going to be in this tabletop position for a little while, and the tendency is going to be to shift the weight towards the arms, and that's just going to make the arms really tired. So as best you can, let there be more weight in the legs, and if you need padding for your knees, slide something soft underneath them at any point you feel like you need it. So we're going to bring the knees together so that they're touching one another. That's it. And then once you've got that shape, we're going to start by focusing on the right leg. So we're going to lift the right foot up. So now just the knee is touching down. And we're going to swing the right foot towards the right and then towards the left. Just like that, exactly. And we're going to take that action a couple of times. So the foot's going to swing towards the right. It's going to swing towards the left. Give yourself a couple of cycles here and notice how you're turning the leg. When the foot goes wide, it's internal rotation. When it crosses across the midline and comes towards the left, the thigh is an external rotation. We'll take two more cycles. Start to look at your foot. As your foot goes to the right, look to the right. And as your foot goes to the left, look to the left. And notice how not only is the thigh turning, but the side body is moving as well. One more time, foot goes right, gaze goes right. Foot goes left, gaze goes left. And then bring that right foot back down onto the mat as you finish. I take a moment just to notice how things feel. Does that right side now feel longer, even just from that small bit of conscious movement in the rotation of the thigh and in the movement in the side body? So let's do the same with the left. Again, make sure the weight's not too much in your hands so you're comfortable. Pick the left foot up and then swing the left foot towards the left. And coming back to center, swing it towards the right. Give yourself one or two more cycles, just exploring first the movement of the leg, feeling how you're rotating the thigh to move the foot and the shin back and forth. And then on this next cycle, start to look at your foot, looking left when it goes left, looking right when it goes right, letting that accordion-like movement come up through the side body as you look around towards the foot. Give yourself one more cycle here. One more time looking left as it goes left. One more time looking right as it goes right. And then bring the left foot back down onto the mat and take a moment just to feel. So to take the weight out of the arms, we're going to sit back towards child's pose for a breath or two. You can always come down onto your belly or onto your back if that's more comfortable. We're resting the arms basically in this position. Child's pose will also be a nice way potentially to check in with how things feel in the hips. We're going to take a couple different variations of that movement, and hopefully with each cycle, we'll feel a little more grounded, a little more released in the hips, a little more connection between the sitting bones and the heels as we find our child's pose. So when you're ready, bring yourself back up into tabletop again. At any point you need to take the weight out of the arms, you can. Knees are going to be together. We're going to add on to the swinging of the leg out towards the right to find a little bit more internal rotation for that right leg. So we're going to pick the right foot up again, and then we're going to flex the foot so that the toes are drawing back towards the knee. Now, as you swing the leg to the right, see if you can reach your toes further to the right than your heel. And then bring the leg back to center. And you can look towards the foot or not, whatever feels right in your body. So we'll do that a couple of times. Foot will be flexed. As the foot rotates to the right, let the toes reach further out towards the right than the heel. and then come back to center. One more time, foot flexes, rotates, toes reach further out than the heel, and then bring the foot back to center. So we're going to stay on the right side, and we're going to take a couple more variations of that movement. Take a moment to rest if you need to. And then when you're ready, we'll do that same movement, but we'll add on trying to bring the inner edge of the right foot down towards the floor. So it'll look like this. The foot will lift up and flex. It's going to go wide with the toes wider than the heel. And then I'm going to start to bring the inner edge of my foot down so that I'm in a little deeper internal rotation. And then I'm going to bring the foot back to center. We'll try that a couple of times. So the foot's going to lift up, it's going to flex, it's going to rotate to the side, and then I'm going to see if I can bring the inner edge of the foot all the way down. It probably won't touch, but it's going to aim in that direction. And then I'll bring the foot back to center. One more time, lift the foot, flex, rotate to the side. See if you can bring the inner edge of the foot down, and then bring the foot back to center. And then take a moment to rest in child's pose. Take the weight out of your arms. Notice how that right side is almost like it's on a hill, more grounded, more soft towards the earth than the left. So we're going to take two more variations of that movement. As you're ready, come back to table. Again, weight more in the legs, knees together. So for this next variation, we're going to lift the right knee up to let the inner edge of the foot come all the way down. So it'll look like this. We'll pick the foot up, we'll flex it. We'll rotate the leg so the toes come wide. We'll start to bring the inner edge of the foot down, and then to take it all the way down, we'll lift the right knee up. So now we're coming from internal rotation to external rotation, and then we'll lower the knee back down. We're going to keep the leg in this position, and we're going to just work lifting and lowering the knee. So here we're in internal rotation. Start to bring the inner edge of the foot down by lifting the knee. See if you can keep your hips steady so that they're not twisting up and down. Lifting the knee is external rotation for the leg. Then slowly lower the knee back down. We're coming back to internal rotation. We're going to do that one more time. Start to bring the inner edge of the foot down by lifting the knee. How high you take it, entirely up to you. Just getting the inner edge of the foot down is plenty. And then lower the knee and bring the foot back to center. So we're going to try one more variant. We'll lift the right foot and flex it. We'll swing the foot out to the side, toes go wide. Same thing, we're going to lift the knee up, keeping the pelvis parallel. Inner edge of the foot is going to come down. Now start to look around towards the right and see if you can bring the sole of the foot, the bottom of the foot, down towards the mat. So we're coming a little deeper into that external rotation. And then as you release, soften from the outer hip, let the knee come all the way back down, and then bring the foot back in so that it comes back parallel with the left. We'll do that twice more. It's the last one on the right side. Lift the right foot, flex it, swing the foot out towards the side, toes go wide, internal rotation. Start to lift the knee here. We're going into external rotation. Keep the hips steady. Inner edge of the foot comes down. Now start to bring the sole of the foot down, maybe looking around towards the right as if you were going to stand up onto that right leg. And then releasing that contraction from the outer hip. Slowly lower the knee back down and bring the foot back to parallel. So we'll do that one more time here on the right side. Lift the foot and flex it. Swing the toes wide, internal rotation. Notice how the thigh spirals inwards. Now start to lift the knee. We're moving towards external rotation. Inner edge of the foot comes down. Keep lifting, looking around toward right if you can, bringing the sole of the foot down, feeling a little more contraction through the outer hip. And then release from the outer hip. Lower the knee. Let the leg come back towards internal rotation, and then bring the foot back in. And then sit your hips back towards your heels, come back to child's. Take a moment just to rest. Notice the difference between the right side and the left side. So we have one more side to do. When you're ready, come back towards table. Again, knees together, not too much weight in the hands. And we'll play just with taking the toes wider than the heel on the left side. So the left foot will lift and flex. Then start to rotate the left foot out towards the left. Let the toes go wider than the heel. And then bring it back in. So we'll try that for 2 more cycles. Lift the foot and flex. Rotate the foot to the side. Toes go wider than the heel. And then release. So this is internal rotation practice for the leg and the hip. Lift the foot, flex it. Toes go wide as the foot swings out towards the side. And then release. So for the next 3 or 4 cycles, we'll think about bringing the inner edge of the foot down. So lift the foot and flex it. Swing the foot out towards the side. Toes go wide. Think about bringing the inner edge of that foot down. And then release back to center. And we'll do that twice more. Lift the left foot, flex it, swing the foot wide, knee stays down here. Think about bringing the inner edge of the foot down, and then release back to center. One more time. Lift the foot, flex, rotate the foot to the side, toes go wider than the heel. Think about bringing the inner edge of the foot down onto the mat, and then release. Take a moment to sit your hips back towards your heels, resting. Checking in with any changes on that left side that you may have created. And then in this last set, we'll add in external rotation of the leg to that internal rotation that we've been practicing. So first, make your way back to table. Again, not too much weight in the hands. When you're ready, lift the left foot, flex it, swing the leg out towards the side, toes go wider than the heel. Start to bring the edge of the foot down. Now start to lift the knee up until the inner edge of the foot touches down. And then slowly lower back down again. And we'll practice just that lifting of the knee. So keep the foot wide. Allison, see if you can keep your hips a little more steady. They want to sway to the side. See if you can keep them a little more stacked and play with just lifting the knee. Let the knee lift up to take the inner edge of the foot down, and then release from the outer hip to bring the knee back down. And we'll try that twice more. So foot goes wide to take the inner edge of the foot down, let the knee lift up. So here we're adding external rotation. You should feel contraction across the outer hip. And then release that contraction to lower the knee down. One final time. See if you can engage through the outer hip, just like when we were playing with that clamshell action, using the outer hip to lift the weight of the leg, and then lowering the weight of the knee back down. And taking a moment to sit your hips back towards your heels, just resting before we take the final set. And then taking that final action where we bring a little more of that external rotation into the leg, trying to stand onto the foot. Come back to your table. Lift the left foot, flex it. Swing the foot out wide, let the toes go wider than the heel. Start to lift the knee here. We're adding external rotation. Keep the hips steady. And see if you can keep lifting the knee, bringing the sole of the foot down onto the mat, looking around towards the left, as if you were going to stand up onto that foot. And then slowly lower the knee back down and bring the foot back into center. And we'll do that twice more. Left foot lifts and flexes. Foot swings out towards the left, toes go wider than the heel. Start to lift the knee to take the inner edge of the foot down, keeping the hips steady. Then see if you can bring the sole of the foot down, maybe looking around towards that left side, feeling more engagement across the outer hip. And then release. As you release, see if you can actively soften at the hip to bring the knee down. and then bring the foot back into center. So we'll do that one more time. Lift the foot, flex it. Let the foot go wide to the left. To take the inner edge of the foot all the way down, lift the knee. Contract through the outer hip here as if you were going to stand. Come to the sole of the foot if you can. And then release from the outer hip, from the side waist, to let the knee lower back down. And then bring that foot back in. And sit your hips back towards your heels. Find child's pose one final time. Give yourself a breath or two. Checking in, feeling in. What's the relationship between your sitting bones and your heels? Have they gotten closer to one another? How does it feel at the tops of the thighs or through the right and the left sides of the body? And then staying in child's pose, but bringing a little more active connection here. Take your knees a little wider so that there's a little bit of space, basically making your thighs hip width distance apart rather than right next to one another. And extend your arms forward overhead if they're not there already. Press your palms down into the mat and imagine pulling your hands towards you until you lift the bones of your arms up away from the mat. Think about getting your armpits more hollow and feel how that turns on the muscles of the back. Hug your hands towards one another a little bit and see if you can take your upper arms apart. That happens by broadening the collarbones and by wrapping the outer arms around towards the back so that you're turning the inner face of your elbows towards your thumbs. So we're moving the shoulder blades and engaging the stability of the upper back. Now, hug in with your legs. Take the upper inner thighs back and apart and see if you can reach your heels and your sitting bones towards one another so that you're creating a lot of length by actively engaging at the hips and the shoulders. And then we're going to try to find the same active engagement as we come to downward facing dog. So as you feel ready, keeping as much of that effort as you can, lift up a little so you can tuck your toes. Engage with the shoulders, find that support, broadening the collarbones, activating the outer arms, and pressing into your toes. Start to hover the knees. See if you can take the tops of the thighs way back. And then start to gently extend the legs, reaching up and back with your hips until you find a downward facing dog shape that has space underneath the armpits and length for your spine. Take a little walk in place here. Bend one knee, letting the other heel reach towards the mat, and then switch to the other side. See if you can feel down into the lower leg so that you're lengthening into the calf muscles as you walk here. And then bringing that to stillness, glide forward to plank. And however you like, come all the way down onto your belly. As you make your way down onto the mat, let your arms come into whatever position you prefer for your cobra, by your sides, palms down by your ribs, whatever you prefer. And first get long through the side body. Take your shoulders towards your ears and reach through the outer hips. Notice how as you reach through the outer hips, your thighs square towards the mat. So we're coming back to a more neutral space by lengthening our centers. Then keep that length. Lift the shoulders away from the mat. Draw your shoulder blades towards one another and down the back until you lift your chest up away from the mat. If you like, you can lift your hands and reach through your fingers. And then slowly come back down. So we'll do that twice more. Again, making sure you've got length back through the outer hips and forward through the upper ribs and side body. Lift the shoulders. Shoulder blades draw towards one another and down the back. Again, maybe you engage with the backs of the arms to lift them up, reaching through your fingers. And then release yourself back and down. One more time. Again, check in with the relationship of the legs. Often they end up turned out. See if you can find a more neutral place by extending through the outer hips. Then let the shoulders rise. Engage with the whole face of the back body. We're not trying to jam the low back, We're trying to move the spine into extension, maybe lifting the arms, engaging through the underarm space, and then slowly bringing yourself back and down. So let's pause here on our bellies to add a stretch for the shoulders and the upper arms. Lift your chest up a little bit so that you can thread your left arm underneath you. So the left arm is going to thread back behind the right so it comes across your upper chest. Yeah, like that, Elson. And then you're going to come down to lay on it. So as you come to lay on it, of course, first make sure you're comfortable here. You might need to bring less pressure down by rotating a little bit towards that left shoulder. You might be able to let the right shoulder be heavy towards the mat. The more you bring the right side of the body down, the more of a stretch you're going to feel across the outer arm. Give yourself a breath or two here and shift that right hand so that it's back behind the left one, just bringing the palm gently down. Like a little support. You're carrying a little bit of your body's weight here through that arm. So we're going to bring a little bit more of this opening across the top of the shoulder. To get there, we're going to make a gentle fist with the left hand so that we tuck the thumb to the inside and wrap the fingers around. And then lifting your head and bending at the elbow, you're going to lift that left hand up and bring it underneath your chin so that you can let the weight of your head come down onto your wrist bones. As you let your head rest down onto your forearm, see if you can stack the bones of the wrist. The forearm has 2 bones. See if they can be vertically on top of one another. And then if you have deeper to go, press your elbow down and press your left thumb down. And that will broaden across the top of the shoulder. We'll be here for a breath or two. And then gently release, unwinding the arm. Thread it back from underneath you, coming back to placing both palms down on the mat. And then make your way back into downward facing dog. And we'll get the other arm on the second side. As you reach up and back, notice the difference between the shoulders. See if you can broaden the collarbones, finding that hollow space with the armpit so that the chest is soft, upper back is engaged. And then walk your feet up to meet your hands and come to a forward fold. Rising up through the arches, anchoring down through the corners of the feet, take your hands to your knees as you inhale, extend through your spine. As you exhale, bow and fold. Twice more as you inhale, extend. As you exhale, release yourself forward. One last time. Inhale, engage through the back body to lift. And then release, lengthen, and round as you fold. And take your hands to your hips and come all the way up to stand. Moving with your breath, releasing your arms down by your sides. As you exhale, let the palms rotate towards the back. Let that move the shoulders. Let it close and collapse your chest as you breathe out, moving the upper spine. And as you inhale, come back up to stand. Moving into the back body, turn the palms out, feel the shoulders move back and down, coming into a standing back bend. And as you inhale, come back to stand. One more time. As you exhale and round forward, focus on what's happening in the upper chest. Move at the upper spine, the ribs, the shoulders, and then release that contraction. Let yourself rise back up, finding that same natural internal buoyancy. Moving into the back body, feel how the shoulders are rotated back and down as you arch. And as you let that go, notice how, again, you stand taller when the back is at ease. Making this a half sun salutation. As you exhale, rotate the arms, round the upper back. Feel how the ribs go way back. Keep the ribs back, lengthen down through the low belly. So you're taking your hips under this anchor point of the ribs, up through the upper back. So you're stacking your shoulders over top of that anchor point. And then turn the palms out. rise up. So we're trying to create an interconnected chain for our centers through the spine. As you exhale, bring your hands down through center, folding all the way back into a forward fold. Take your hands to your knees, extend long. And then bring your hands down, walk back, downward facing dog. Lift the arm bones, fire the outer arms to turn the elbow creases towards the thumbs, and make sure the inner hand stays anchored down. And notice how that changes what's happening across the center of your upper back. Come forward to plank and all the way down onto the mat. So we'll take 3 cycles of Cobra Pose, and then we'll take the second side of those shoulder stretches. Again, hands in any position you like, by the ribs, down by your sides, interlaced back behind you. First, lengthen the side body. Hips reach back. Notice how releasing the hips allows you to find more space for your back and your side body. Shoulders rise, move towards one another, and down the back. And coming only as far into your back body as feels good to you, aiming to move from many spaces. Coming all the way back down as you're ready. Taking 2 more cycles. Again, finding length, then building through that length. See if you can keep making space as you invite the back body to contract. And as you release from the back body, let it continue to get long. One more time. Take a moment just to rest as you come all the way out. And then it's going to be the right arm that threads underneath. So lifting your chest up a little bit, thread your right arm across, and then let yourself come to rest down onto it so that you've got your arm underneath the upper part of your chest. Again, you get to control how intense this is across the shoulder. Can roll more towards the right to make the stretch more intense. You can let that left side get heavy. That brings more extension across the outer arm. See if you can press the outer edge of that right arm down into the mat. Again, notice what's happening through the low back and the hips. Can you let the outer hips reach away from you? Can you find a place that's softer and more neutral to allow yourself to explore the upper body? And then shifting a little bit more focus into the upper shoulders. Make a gentle fist, right thumb tucks to the inside, fingers wrap around it, and then lifting your head, bend your elbow, let the arm cross underneath your chin, and stacking the arm bones vertically, let your chin come to rest below your wrist, so that the weight of your head is helping to move the hand down towards the mat. Again, find a place where you're comfortable. Only if you need more intensity, you can press the right elbow and the right thumb down. That will bring more expansion across the top of the shoulder and the upper back. We'll be here for a couple breaths. Start to gently unfold the arm. Let it extend back out underneath you, maybe letting your head rest down for a moment. And then when you're ready, thread that right arm back out, placing your hands, and make your way back into downward facing dog. Nice. Lift the ribs, lift the armpits, and then lengthen through the low belly, out through the tops of the thighs, out through the outer hips, so that you're using the strength of your legs and your glutes to reach the hips up away from the earth as you plug your hands down into them. Now, walk your feet together at the back of the mat. Bend your knees about halfway and rotate your feet so that your toes turn towards the right, heels towards the left. So we're bringing a lot of space across the ribs. See if you can root down through the hands Take the outer hips, reach them back behind you, and let that help you to breathe into the side body. And then come back to neutral with the feet. Rotate the toes towards the left, heels towards the right. Again, see if you can get both hands down and breathe into the left side. Can you let there be space all through that side line? And then come back to center and step your left foot forward between your hands. As you set up for your lunge, make sure you've got a strong connection down through your feet. Arches rise up, corners of the feet press down. Let that help you to connect up into the thighs, and then let that steady you as you rise up. Arms come up when you're ready. See if you can let your shoulder blades move upwards with your arms, and let your outer hips and pelvis reach downwards with your legs. Then keeping that length, bring your hands down in front of you. Add a twist. Again, that could be the hand coming across, could be the left elbow coming across. Hug in with the legs. See if you can reach from the outer hips into the floor and from your collarbones out through your arms. Palms can stay together, arms can extend, whatever feels like the right place for you. And then release your hands back and down and switch sides. Again, find an active connection with the feet. Arches rise up, corners of the feet, center of the heel, base of the little toe, base of the big toe, anchor down. Let that help you to feel really plugged in at the hips. And then as you're ready, start to rise up. Again, outer hips and pelvis are moving down with the legs so that the inner thighs are rising up. See if you can feel how you're lifting the center of your body from deep in your core. As the arms go up, shoulder blades go with the arms. So that the back, sides, and front body are all lengthening. Again, as you're ready, keeping the hips moving down, arms and shoulders rising up. Bring your hands down in front of you and add the twist. An elbow can come across, hand can come across. See if you can keep reaching the outer hips away with the legs and letting the shoulder blades track with the arms. As you turn, make sure you're bringing some movement into the upper chest. See if you can turn from the back of your heart using those spaces that you created between the ribs. Again, do anything you like with the arms. And then release your hands down and come back to the right side. So I'm going to rotate through center to come to the right. Right foot is going to turn out. Left toes are going to turn in a little bit. So we're setting ourselves up here for a warrior two. Hug in with the legs. Lift the arches from the outer hips. Reach down. Start to make your way up. Again, as you find your warrior two, aim to have your knee reaching out over the second toe and something less than a 90-degree bend so that you're working the thigh a little bit so that you're really strong in this place. First, we'll find our warrior two, arms out towards the sides. And then we're going to reverse. We're going to take the left hand down, right arm up. As you start to move back, as you start to lengthen through this front line, draw the ribs back a little bit and see if you can find that length for the side body. Outer hips reach down through the feet. Shoulder blades and shoulders rise up as you move back in space. And then come back up to center. Bring the right forearm down, left arm rises up. Think about reaching in all directions here. Can you send energy out through your arms and through your legs, through the top of your head, through your tail? And then let that top arm follow that energy. And again, make sure you're allowing the arm to rotate, the shoulder blade and hip to reach apart from one another. And then lowering your hands back down. Switch sides, either by stepping or by rotating. Left foot is going to turn out to 90 degrees. Right foot is going to turn in just slightly. Again, rising up through the arches, plugging down through the corners of the feet, start to come up, warrior two. Again, knee check. Make sure it tracks out over the second toe so that you've got some powerful support in the hip for the knee. And then take the arms out towards the top and bottom of the mat. Moving into reverse warrior, make sure there's a little lift in that right inner thigh, reaching from the outer hip. Lower the right hand down, left arm rises up. Again, drawing the ribs back a little bit because we tend to be hypermobile at that connection with the rib cage and the low spine. See if you can lengthen down and out through the low spine, up through the top of your head. Again, we'll be here for a breath or two. And then come back up to center and bring the left forearm down onto the left thigh, right arm up towards the sky. Again, see if you can reach in all directions, including the top of your head and your tail. And then rotate that right arm and let the shoulder blade move with the arm. Let the fabric of the back lengthen as you reach in all directions. And release the hands back and down. We're going to come one more time to the right side to take humble warrior. So we're going to bring that right foot rotated to 90 degrees, left toes turned in slightly. We're going to come up into warrior two again. Again, as you rise up, make sure you've got really strong control in that front leg. We're going to take the hands back behind us. As you interlace your fingers, draw your ribs back. Look towards your belly as if you were going to see into your belly button and see if you can hollow out your center so that your back is full and broad. Now, keeping your back full and broad, start to rise up through the shoulders and to reach down through the low belly and the outer hips. Let that bring you to a place where all four sides of the body are long. Start to lift the hands. If you like, stay here, lifted. If you prefer, bow forward. As you bow, make sure you maintain the stability in that front leg, right leg. Let the knees stay stacked over the ankle. Think about pulling energy up through your inner thighs and reaching energy down from the outer hips to let the top of your head come towards the mat. Give yourself another breath or two here. To rise back up, see if you can keep that front knee bent and use that power to bring you up so that you're really working through the thighs. Release the arms, find warrior two. And then bring your hands down. Last time, making your way around towards the left side. Left foot rotates out to 90. Right toes turn in a little bit. Again, check the alignment of the feet. Make sure you've either got the back arch or the back heel in line with the front one. And as you're ready, rise up into warrior two. Again, make sure you're steady in your support for the knee. Track energy up, reach energy down. Hands will come back behind you. As you interlace your fingers, again, shift the ribs back, looking in towards your belly, and then lengthen through all sides. Shoulders rise up, hips rotate down, low belly and chest soften so that your spine is rising up through your center. Lifting the hands, either staying here or bowing forward. Again, for all variations, work to keep that left knee tracking over the left toe. Your back leg is your anchor here. See if you can lift through the right inner thigh and reach through your feet. And let that be what allows you to release the top of your head towards the mat. Last breath here. Keeping the front knee bent if you like. Come back up. Releasing your hands. And then bring your hands down. And we're going to end up in a tabletop position. So you can step through dog if you like. You can take a breath in child's pose if you need to. And when you're ready, bring your knees down onto the mat. Once you've brought your knees down, bring your forearms down. Flip your palms up. Bring the little fingers and the elbows together to touch and rotate the arms so that the thumb sides of the hands turn down and the upper arms turn. You're engaging through the triceps here. You're externally rotating the arms. Press the elbows down to lift your shoulders and move your collarbones apart. You should feel your shoulder blades slide onto your upper back. Make sure your ribs don't fall down. That's my big challenge, right? If you need to lift them up, engage a little at the upper belly and see if you can continue to bring the shoulder blades onto the back. Walking your knees back a little bit if they're right under the hips, start to sit your hips back towards your heels. And as you move back through the hips, see if you can let the shoulder blades and the upper arm bones continue to move forward. Give yourself a breath or two here. And then start to rise back up. And from here, we'll come either into thread the needle, coming down onto our backs, or into pigeon, taking the right shin forward across the top of the mat, whichever one you would prefer. As you set yourself up, looks like everybody's going for pigeon. I'll also go for pigeon. As you set yourself up, make sure you've got strong support for the ankle and the knee. Let either the top of the foot or the little toe side of the foot click down into the floor and think about hugging in. Lift yourself away from the mat. Let that help you to play with the internal rotation of the legs. See if you can send the upper inner thighs back and apart. So this was the action we played with when we took our feet wider than our knees. Then reach out through the soles of the feet. Maybe that lets you take your hands up away from the mat. So we've added internal and external rotation on top of one another to really build a sense of buoyancy and power. Keep that and start to come down towards your forearms. Lifting the hands, totally optional, but as you come forward, see if you can continue to build on that sense of strength in the legs. Upper inner thighs move back and apart, reach from the outer hips through the soles of the feet. And notice how it's both of those actions that help you to find a deeper place of release through the hips. We'll be here for a few breaths. Again, if you have variations that you love in pigeon, please feel free to take them. Start to come back up onto your hands. We're going to add a second pigeon variation. Here, our hips are lifted. For the second variation, we're going to let the right hip come all the way down onto the mat. That's going to mean the left knee bends. Let the left leg be in a comfortable place. And you should end up basically with a 90-degree angle at the knee and your knee right in front of your hip with the weight on the outer edge of the right hip. So the right hip is going to be fully down on the ground. So this is a little bit more asymmetrical. The more you come towards center without lifting that hip, and the more you flex and connect through the front leg, the more of a stretch you're going to feel. So first, bring your left hand to the sole of your right foot and press your foot and your hand into one another. And you should feel your right leg draw back into the right hip. And then if you like, keeping that press, keeping the right hip down, shift your weight towards the center as you start to bow forward. You should feel this as a slightly different place in the hips than where you might find in your more lifted pigeon. We'll be here for a couple of breaths. To go deeper, you can extend the back leg further back behind you. To make it less intense, you can lift up and rock a little more towards the outer edge of the right hip. And start to make your way back up. We're going to release that right leg. Let the knee bend. Maybe make your way back to table or dog, however you prefer to switch. Ooh, take all the time you need, feeling into that right side. And when you're ready, we'll take pigeon on the left. So the left shin is going to come forward, knee will be wider than the hip. And again, flexing the foot, lifting through the ankle. Make sure you've got really strong support. Hug in with the legs. See if you can find a little of that internal rotation. Inner thighs, particularly in the back leg, spiral up towards the sky. That takes your sitting bones apart. And then drawing the ribs back, reaching from the outer hips, press out through the feet. Maybe the hands rise up, totally optional. But see if you can find the lift of your center by balancing internal and external rotation in the legs. Nice, Allison. As you feel ready, start to lower yourself down. As you lower down, keep the work in the legs, particularly on the left side. The left hip is going to want to shift forward. Keep reaching it back. Ooh. If this is your tighter side, as it is for me, find a place that's the right amount of effort. And as you invite the outer edge of that left hip to soften, see if you can play with inner thighs moving back and apart and the outer hips reaching out through the soles of the foot so that you're finding a place of steady connection as you ask those muscles to do the hard work of lengthening and releasing. We'll be here for a breath or two. And then taking that second pigeon variation, maybe coming up towards your hands, start to lower the left hip down onto the mat. Again, letting the right knee bend, letting the right leg adjust in any way you need. We're going to end up with a 90-degree angle at the knee. So the shin is basically going to be parallel to the front edge of the mat and the knee right in front of your hip. So the outer edge of that thigh is down on the mat. In this position, we can't rotate at the knee. So it tends to bring a different kind of effect into the hips. As you're ready, flex the left foot. If you can, take the right hand to the left foot, press your foot and your hand into one another. And let those opposing actions help you to draw that left hip way back behind you. Maybe start to bow forward.
Everyone's gone. Relax.
Oh, great.
Relax and rejuvenate.
As you fold in, of course, bringing more weight towards the right will make things more intense. Ooh, make sure you're finding a place that's good for you. I find that for me, I have to tuck my toes under in my back foot or my knee feels weird. So know that what you do in that back leg does affect the whole shape of the pose. If your knee is feeling funky or moved around, feel free to tuck those back toes under. And we'll be here for a breath or two. See if you can keep reaching that left hip back and pressing the left foot into the right hand. And start to gently release. And as you come back up, swing that back leg forward, and we're going to come down onto our backs. So we're going to take just one tour through a back bend, your choice. Of course, you could come into bridge. You could come into bridge and deepen it by reaching towards the ankles. You could take any other back bend variation that you like. Let's all start by finding bridge. And then if you have variations you'd like to add, please feel free to add them on. So we'll start with the backs of the arms down on the mat, elbows bent to 90. Start by gently pressing the elbows, then add the backs of the arms and the shoulders. Let your shoulder blades draw towards one another on the upper back. Let them move down your back as you rotate the shoulders towards the floor. Reach your heels and your sitting bones towards one another. See if you can find an arch that includes each spot in your back. And if there are any places where you don't feel like there's movement, bring your attention to the spot in your belly opposite and breathe into that space. See if you can distribute this effort evenly. And then as you feel ready, if you haven't already, let the hips come up. And as the hips come up, we're aiming to keep the back bend. So see if you can lengthen from your ribs, from the front of the hips, from the outer hips even, out through the knees and down into your feet. We'll be here for a couple of breaths. Take any variations you like. You can interlace the hands. You can reach for your ankles. Give yourself 3 more breaths. And then as you're ready, start to ease your way back down. Once you've come down, give yourself a moment just to rest. And then as you're ready, take your feet a little wider so they come mat width distance apart. And give your legs a sway towards the right and towards the left. So notice how here we're taking the legs into internal and external rotation. With this gentle rotating, not just of the legs, but of the hips, of the back, the connections of the legs up into the center of the body, and really all the way up towards the top of the head. Let that be an invitation to move through all of those spaces, to soften and release through all of those spaces. Give yourself one more cycle to each side. And then as the knees come back up to center, bring yourself towards happy baby. If you'd like to give your knees a hug before you do so, totally cool. When you're ready, let the knees come wide. Point the soles of the feet up towards the sky, letting your sitting bones continue to reach down towards the mat. And catch a hold of what you can reach comfortably. It could be the outer feet, could be ankles, could be the backs of the thighs. Keeping your feet aiming up towards the ceiling, press up with your feet and see if you can reach from the outer hips through the soles of the feet. And let that help you to invite the sitting bones down towards the mat. So you're taking the tops of the thighs and you're moving them away from the shoulders. Maybe here a couple of breaths. You're unwinding through the back here, but also through the backs and the inner lines of the thighs. And you can add any variations you like, rocking, extending the legs, releasing a little more deeply into the hamstrings, taking a big V. And then let's finish by taking a twist. Either take your favorite twist or extend the left leg out long, tuck the right toes back behind the left knee, and use the left hand to guide the right knee across and over. As you rotate, see if you can let there be movement all the way up into your ribs. So that as you twist, you're not forcing the center of the body to do all of the work, but are bringing articulation through the whole of the spine as you let the lower body and upper body rotate in opposite directions. And then bring that knee back up. And we'll finish by going towards the second side. Right leg will extend, left toes will tuck underneath. Again, guiding that left knee across and over. Let there be a little bit of movement from a lot of places. See if you can bring movement up into your rib cage. And again, we'll be here for a few breaths. And let that left knee rise back up. And let's make our way towards Shavasana. As always, if there are any final movements that your body is calling out for, feel free to take them, whatever they might be. And as you're ready, make your way into a comfortable position on your mat, taking all the time you need to get there. Once you've arrived, once you've let yourself settle, give yourself a couple of cleansing breaths. Breathe in through your nose and sweetly out through your mouth. And let your exhale pour you down into the mat. A couple more times here. Breathe in through your nose. And like a little sigh out through your mouth. And then as you're ready, let your breath flow in and out as if you were being breathed. See if you can experiment with what happens when you get out of the way of your breath. The work we do, aligning, refining, bringing intentional awareness from our mind into our bodies, is in many ways preparation for simply getting out of the way, for our bodies to do what they do naturally, to have a balance of lightness and space, steadiness and strength. As you let your breath flow in and flow out here, continue to notice whether there are more places that you could soften and release from. And let that invite the movement of your breath to connect to more and more spaces through the fabric of your body. Very, very sweetly start to deepen your breathing. And let your breath bring you back up towards the surface. Bring a little gentle movement back into your body, wiggling your fingers and your toes. As you're ready, let that expand in any way that feels right to you, moving from the inside back out. And then bend your knees. Make your way over onto one side and pause. Take a moment just to rest. And then when you're ready, use your hands to help you come up to sit, sitting in any way that feels comfortable to you. As you find a comfortable seat, let your hands come together in front of your heart and take a moment to bow your head in. Thank yourself for making time to practice. And then bring your thumbs to your third eye and bow forward to close your practice. Namaste.